Demons manifest themselves as parasites in the body, right? So you have even people with a plant-based diet. Some people eat animals as well as byproducts of animals, milk, egg, and so forth. So the people that have a plant-based diet, they will always have a higher state of consciousness above people who eat meat, right? Eat the flesh of animals, right? Now, when you're dealing with animals, we were commanded to eat the ones that divide the hoof and chew the cud. This is the animals. These animals, they have 4 chambers in their stomach. So that first chamber the food goes into, this is where they do the regurgitating process. They bring it up back and eat it again. In this area, this is where the fermenting process takes place. So they have the gut bacteria that produces enzymes to break down the cellulose in the foods. So there's a separation process that happens so they can separate the toxins. So they pass out what needs to be passed out, and whatever needs to be remains in the body, so that animal can get the nutrients from those grass and those leaves that they eat. Now that is what nourishes that animal, and this is why humans can now go and eat it without having to deal with the toxins that are in those plants. Because there's certain plants you cannot go directly to eat them. So the animals break down these toxins and then they consume them, and then we can now consume those animals so we can get the same nutrients from them, right? No, there are other animals that chew the cud, but they don't divide the hoof. For example, a camel, right? They have a cleft in the hoof. It's a V, but it's not completely equally divided like the swine or the goats and so forth. So even though they chew the cud, because they have the rumen, they have that same compartment, they are not clean because they do not do that same processing. And another thing with these animals is they can keep like the urea inside their bodies. This is why these animals can travel through deserts without needing water. They do not lose water because the way their skins are made, the way their structure, they do not sweat like what we do in hot environments. We sweat. They don't do that. They keep at these things. So these things also spread throughout their body. So this is why consuming those animals will pass on also diseases to us. Right? Now it mentions also like the hare, the coney, and so forth. All these animals, because of the way their stomach process the foods, what they have to do is they have to go back and eat their poop to get the other nutrients that they couldn't get, like the animals that carry 4 chambers in the stomach. So this is why we do not eat those animals with 3 chambers in the stomach, or if they chew the cud and don't divide the hoof, we still do not eat them. Now, like I said, with the pigs, right? They divide the hoof equally, but they do not chew the cud, right? So these animals are unclean. These animals are scavengers. They clean the earth. These are similar to the crustaceans in the sea, like the lobsters and so forth. They are the scavenger for the water. The swine is the scavenger for the dry land. So these things that they eat, that's what spread throughout their body. And when you go and eat those animals, guess what happens? That's what you're consuming. What people don't understand is the swine is very, very close to the human. The human is an habitation. The human is a habitation for unclean spirits. The pig is very similar. So these are hosts for unclean spirits. This is why Legion, when the spirits were casted out, where did they go? They go to the swine. Because the way they're built, they are hosts for unclean spirits as well. Now, this is why you see people who think that they can pray over these flesh and then make it clean, or you can cook it properly and you make it clean. No, it doesn't work like that. While cooking, while the extra heat can get rid of some of the bacteria, you know what it doesn't get rid of? These organisms inside them, they produce other compounds that you can't get rid of, not by cooking, not by praying over them. Doesn't matter what you do, you cannot get rid of those things. This is why some people who eat certain foods, what happens to them? You have this constant bad belly pain because you don't understand that even these parasites in you, they pee inside of you. That's why you have that bad belly pain. So in order to undo or to fix these things, the first thing you have to do is to change your diet. And that's one of the hardest things for a lot of people to do. They get this type of sickness, they get the cure and so forth, the herbs, whatever medication, whatever they use to cure it, but they cannot stop themselves from eating certain things, putting certain things in their body. These pigs, they feed upon those worms in the earth. Their body is like an incubator. Their bodies is like incubator, is like agents. So it's like these demons multiply in them. They are hosts for viruses, parasites, bacteria. All those are demons. And when you consume those, the flesh of those animals, that's what you're putting into your system. You don't pray over that or cook it properly and get rid of that. The Most I said is unclean. Don't eat it. That's what he means. There was a movie about COVID that came out back in 2011. It's called Contagion or Contagious. When you go to the last episode in that series, it's like they're showing you how the disease started, where the rat bat was like the rat bat was eating something and it fell to the ground in the pen of the swine, and the swine went and took it up and eat it, and it went among the other swine and so forth, as if they're painting the picture that that's where the disease came from. So the swine, yes, they are hosts. They're agents for causing these diseases. So it doesn't matter how much they change the name from pig to, and then when it turns into the meat, they call it pork. No, that's the same pig. All these animals, when they slaughter them, they give them different names, except for chicken. Chicken keeps its name. Whether it's a leg quart, the breast, whatever, it's still chicken. Everything else, their name changes. It's still the same animal. You're still eating swine. Now, when you get to the sea, it's the same concept, right? He said, eat the ones that carry scales and fins, right? So when you look at it, what actually happens is the animals that carry scales, like the snapper, like the wrenchman and so forth, you'll see that the scales are so tightly compacted together. What does that do? It prevents the body from parasites entering. So those ones we can eat. So even when you look at tuna, the scales are not so tightly compacted as the snappers and so forth. Now, as opposed to other fish that might not have actual scales and so forth, their system is different because they also, like the camels, have a way to keep the urea inside, right? Unlike the clean fishes, what they actually do is they take in the water, but they do the separation through their gills to remove the salt from it. So this is what makes them healthy. This is why you know what to eat and what not to eat. It's the parasite. That's the most I was trying to tell us something. Demons manifest themselves as parasites in the bodies. So be careful of what you eat. So if you can go back to a plant-based diet, you do it. And if you're consuming animals, you have to be selective with what you're putting into your system. It says don't eat these one, these one. Don't do it. Don't go to the rabbit parties anymore. Don't be curious to eat the crocodile tail or the shark fin soup and so forth. These animals are high in toxins, demons, they're agents. They keep the urea inside of them. So to avoid a lot of sicknesses in the body, plant-based diet. And not only that, is to give you a higher state of consciousness. Because when you eat foods, what is food? Food is not just something that you put in your mouth and chew and swallow. No, it gives nutrients to the organs in your bodies. That's what keeps you alive. Your organs, they need to be healthy. So they need to be feeding and the right nutrients from the right sources. So you're eating from the earth, your yam, banana, this, that, that. You're feeding your organs. You're not feeding your appetite. You feed your organs. So the process that takes place is the food turns the blood inside your body. The life of the flesh is in the blood. What you eat has a lot to do with what you're putting in your blood. Yeah, so a lot of us are defiled with these things inside of our system. Yes, how to deal with it. So what do? Papaya seeds. 5 days of papaya seeds, your bentonite clay, and that's how you deal with it. You get rid of those parasites, and also, like I said, change of diet. Get rid of those junks in the cabinet, man. Food doesn't grow in supermarkets. Food is your medicine. It comes from the earth. Shalom.